Recently, I did a Five Nights at Freddy's quiz. I thought I was gonna fail horrendously, but I actually did pretty decently, got 50%, am proud of it, don't at me. So I thought, you know what time it is? It's time to fill all the gaps in my knowledge and watch the comprehensive guide to Five Nights at Freddy's lore. I'm gonna be here forever, actually. That's all I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. Andrew's gonna hold my eyes open and be like this, just watching. Why does that sound like something that would actually be in FNAF? I'm not gonna lie. It's just videos of the different versions of Freddy, like dancing creepily. Does that sound good? Like that? Welcome to Five Nights at Freddy's. Something like that? Does that sound right?
We'll find out.
That's actually what this video is. It's just Matt Pat's Five Nights at Freddy's music video, right? He's made some fan music, and it's just him singing that song that I just did on repeat for 19 minutes and 11 seconds. That was my segue, by the way, to say that it was Matt Pat making this video. I'm gonna be watching the first video in the Game Theory Five Nights at Freddy's lore series. FNAF, the ultimate timeline.
Today we end the torment. 19 books, 11 games, 8 whole years.
Excuse me, already I am confused. When I did the Five Nights at Freddy's quiz, the last question was about what order the games were in, and I searched up how many Five Nights at Freddy's games are there, and the answer I got was 9. Now I'm being told it was 11? And did it say 19? 19 books? Like novel books? Or like small, you know? That's crazy. In 8 years, they did 11 games in 8 years?
The ultimate FNAF timeline is finally complete.
Why am I nervous?
Pieces are in place for us. Now all we have to do is put this story of tragedy, jealousy, and loss back together.
Man, honestly, I'm already feeling as though I'm just gonna be consistently surprised by what Five Nights at Freddy's has, because when I did that quiz, I was like, oh my gosh, there's child murder and people's souls being like forced into animatronics. I just didn't expect it to be so dark, and now I just feel like it's gonna get darker.
2018, back in the days when Mike was the crying child, Afton coming back was actually a surprise, and Fazgoo wasn't a phrase I'd ever thought I'd have to utter. But since the last time I did something like this, we've had
Do you know what Fazgoo is? Because I sure don't. I kind of want to just keep it that way. I feel as though this video might change that, and I'm already having regrets, because sounds pretty nasty.
3 more massive games, the death and revival of the FNAF movie, and more robot kids than
Right, I forgot about the FNAF movie. I'm so gonna say that.
The lore at this point is complicated. It is full of speculation and theory, so to hopefully...
Yeah, in the comments of that quiz video, people were saying about how a lot of the questions and answers were based off of pure speculation, and it feels like the fandom can't agree on a lot of things.
It's time to reveal my current working FNAF timeline. But just before I do, I just want to explain a couple of things. First, this timeline is massive. Seriously, it is huge.
Really that big?
Towers over any video project we have ever done on the channel. But when you look at the totality of this franchise, this
why is it so
really boils
big?
Down to the story of one man, William Afton. His successes, his failures, his rise.
I was literally about to say Michael Afton, thinking I was so smart, and then he said William, and I was like, oh, right. The father, I think, who was a child murderer. To clarify, I mean someone who murders children and not a child who is a murderer.
And his eventual fall to the monsters he helped to create, only to then be reborn in a new digital form later. That's why I've decided to split this timeline into 3 main chunks. The foundation of Freddy's, how the business started and how it came into being. The Afton era, William's decade.
I just forget that it's meant to be like an actual place. Like, it's not as though it's just some random building that happens to be infested with haunted animatronics. It's literally, like, it started as a pizzeria. People would go there and eat pizza. It just feels like all of the venues are just places where nothing happens, no one ever goes, except for the security guards who might die. There is no point to it other than it being a death factory that people go to when they're security guards that, you know, don't have anywhere else to go. Right?
Right.
I don't know. Why did I look at you for that?
And post-Purple Guy. Basically modern FNAF. Everything that
Purple
happens
Guy. What is
after
Purple Guy? Am I meant to know what Purple Guy is at this point?
I decided to dedicate 1 episode to each chunk. I originally wanted it to be one seamless, continuous video, but it just felt incomplete without some sort of explanation at the end of each one. Once this whole thing's done, I promise I'm gonna merge all the narrative bits into one massive video so you can just skip my explanations. But for now, this just felt like the best, most satisfying, most complete way to do this. That being said, this this is still about the story, the broad strokes of the franchise. So in order to make sure that you guys know that I'm not just pulling answers out of thin air, not only am I discussing some of the more controversial bits at the end of each chunk, which will show thumbnails, video titles, books, and any other citations that we need throughout the video.
It is properly bonkers to me, in a good way, that right now I'm sitting here watching essentially what is a video essay about the lore of a game franchise, and they're going to be providing citations to not only their own videos, but presumably other people's videos. It's literally like watching someone's thesis. They've just got like references and citations, and what a weird, such a weird world. Isn't it? I know gaming lore is complicated. I have played many games. I've dived into many game laws. But it's just like every time I'm surprised by how complicated these things can get.
Without any more waiting, I present to you the story of a loving, obsessive father who ascended
so
into
loving.
madness, and along the way discovered the secret to eternal life.
One sentence into the actual video, I already feel like I just had a revelation that I hadn't thought of. I never questioned why the children's souls went into the animatronics. I just thought like, I don't know, weird possession stuff. It's just coincidence. Was William Afton putting children's souls into the animatronics so they would like live forever? Because that's what he said, the secret to eternal life. Was he like, oh, I will free you from this earthly body and put you in a freaky ass animatronic?
All the way back in the 1930s.
What?
The throes of the Great Depression, and people were in desperate need of cheap entertainment.
This spans like a century?
Hit hardest. Fourth highest unemployment in the nation and full of transients. People looking for work in Salt Lake, finding none, and ultimately moving on to find their fortunes out in California.
Andrew, when I clicked start on this video, and I was like, hey, we're gonna be doing a Five Nights at Freddy's lore video. You expected all kinds of weird stuff, right? You expected maybe death, child murder, weird animatronic stuff, all kinds of stuff going on. Did you expect for it to start with the background about the Great Depression? It's like, here you go, everyone's out of work, and here's why everything sucks. It's the Great Depression. Because that relates to Five Nights at Freddy's. I mean, I'm sure it does. It's just not where my mind would have started.
But as they traveled, there was one thing that could lift their spirits.
Pizza.
A simple roadside attraction called Fredbear's Singing Show.
Pretty much.
Ads were plastered all over town, featuring an animated bear drawn in the popular pie-eyed cartoon style for characters at the time. He resembled cartoons like Mickey Mouse, Felix the Cat, Betty Boop.
I don't know, I'd probably not go there. That would be terrifying.
You could get food and entertainment as you watched the local trained real-life dancing bear perform on stage.
Oh, it was a...
dancing bears at large traveling circuses like Barnum and Bailey.
So it was an actual bear. Freddy Fazbear was inspired by a real-life singing bear from the Great Depression. The is this game, man?
$1. That's $1 without food. But this was a smaller show, like the type from the Von Brothers or the Robbins Brothers, where tickets would sell for just a mere 50 cents. Watching that bear do tricks on stage brought a glimmer of joy at a time when so much was wrong with the world.
Yeah, so much was wrong, like forcing bears to perform.
It left a permanent impression on one little boy, capturing his imagination in a way that nothing else had. One little boy named Billy. That was his nickname at least, but his parents liked to call him William.
So Matt Pat said purple guy, and they keep drawing William Afton as this purple guy. Was William Afton just purple? I feel like this relates and I don't understand.
The bear could dance. It could sing. For decades.
Why does it look so sad?
Creating that moment of bringing a musical bear to life, but how? William was smart, without a doubt, and he had a keen mind for business, but he wasn't the most creative. How do you make a singing, dancing bear come to life? The best he could do was using rudimentary costumes.
Sorry, costumes? Did he like make a bear suit and try to get someone to dance? Oh, that's so sad.
Finally, with a simple mascot suit, he would be able to realize his childhood dream. He would be able to bring Fredbear.
He was gonna be the bear.
To the kids, and for copyright reasons, he changed Fredbear from a realistic brown animal to a cartoonish yellow bear with a purple hat and bow tie. But feeling like one character wasn't enough, he added another friend, a yellow rabbit with a purple vest and matching tie named Bonnie the Bunny. While Fredbear was certainly his first love, Bonnie was extra special because that was his. It was an original character that he had created from scratch. And I do mean scratch.
I don't. It's somehow so much weirder to me that all the characters were created by like this one dude, because I find them creepy. I don't know. I feel like if I went to one of these shows anyway, I'd find them creepy. I know that it's like cute and it's animatronics, but there's something off-putting about them. Maybe it's just that I know that they're now possessed. But the vibe is so different knowing that it was just a guy that made them, because in my mind they were made by some giant faceless corporation as just singing mascots, you know?
Bonnie and Fredbear would perform on stage to small but enthusiastic
When do
crowds.
they add the others? It's just the two of them?
Delighting and inspiring them in the exact way that he had been delighted and inspired so many years ago. And things could have ended there. That could have been the end to his story.
That's kind of cute, and I wish it stayed that way because I know that kids die. It's like, oh, look how sweet it is. He's inspiring, making kids laugh and have fun. Then he kills them, stuffs them into suits.
It could have been perfect had it not been for one thing. Other people saw the success of his idea. They wanted in. Enter Chica's Party World.
So that's where the big business comes in.
Performing animal characters. His idea, except they did it better. William may have been the first, but
Were they also animatronics?
It wasn't the best. It hurt the prideful William Afton to admit it, but this restaurant was able to do the thing that he always wanted to do.
merge?
Make the animals actually come to life. All of the performers in this restaurant were robots. Simple metal skeletons that were powered by battery packs, but all of them able to freely turn and talk and dance on their own, no human required.
How were they able to talk? I mean, I guess they could have had like pre-recorded lines and things like that, but I don't know, when they say freely talk and turn on their own, it makes it feel like they've invented AI.
Came from the mind of a brilliant creator named Henry Emily. This Henry, in some small way, had been able to—
Charlotte Emily related, maybe? I mean, I assume so. Right. It's not like there's just going to be two people with the surname Emily in the same franchise at different times that aren't related. So daughter, I assume? If Michael Afton is William Afton's son, maybe Charlotte Emily is Henry Emily's daughter?
This Henry, in some small way, had been able to harness the power of life itself.
Oh.
Often admired it. He was jealous,
what,
to be
literally
sure, but he also looked upon this man with
What does
awe.
that mean? He harnessed life itself?
Featuring an elephant magician. On the other, a hippo known to rap
Elephant
on and
magician.
on.
Oh, hey, that looks like how Bonnie looks now. Did they merge Bonnie the Bunny? I gotta stop asking questions.
It was the main stage that was for the kids. A rocking band of characters featuring a yellow chicken thing with a southern drawl named Chica, backed by a band of other country-themed characters, including a pig with a banjo, an upbeat frog from the local swimming hole, and a brown bear with a heavy southern accent. Wait, a bear? But bears were his animals.
I was thinking that they would merge and join forces, but is it gonna be some sort of hostile takeover situation? But how does he use Chica then, if... Also, I kind of want to see the frog, I'm not gonna lie.
Why'd it have to be a bear?
Because he stole your idea.
They had the nerve to call this thing Ned Bear.
Ned.
A direct copy of his own Fredbear.
Whoops, that's gonna leave a mark.
No, that was not okay. Afton's jealous admiration turned to hardened bitterness.
That is such a rip-off imitation brand name. It's like if I made a brand selling phones and called it like Bapple. Bapple. Grapple. Zapple.
Choose Chica's Party World over Fredbear's. William just couldn't compete with the appeal of the robots.
So he kills the kids out of anger.
Eventually, his restaurant would go bankrupt, only to get bailed out by, of course, Henry Emily.
Oh.
Another insult. Another humiliation.
He just buys him out.
William wouldn't soon forget. 1979. Despite being bitter.
Oh, okay. Not where I thought that was gonna go. I thought that William might end up like running it all and having the power. But it seems like what's actually happened is he's had like all of his pride and all of his work stripped away from him and probably bought for like a ridiculously cheap price. So now the man is angry, and that's why he starts killing children. I'm really hung up on that. I mean, can you blame me? I'm hung up on the child murder. Sue me.
What came next was a period of massive success and expansion, with the two franchises now merged into one.
Oh, so they did merge, but I guess he doesn't have much power.
Ideas with Henry's robotic expertise. The two men decided to launch under a new name, Fredbear's Family Diner, a pizza chain that would eventually come to feature a mix of humans in performing suits as well as on-stage animatronics. They decided to stick with Fredbear as the headliner, considering the yellow bear was easily identifiable as a brand and because he was the original performing animal mascot.
The yellow one, Golden Freddy? Because Freddy's like brown. Like, right? The actual Freddy is brown. I'm only assuming that Golden Freddy is the original Freddy with like a lingering presence.
With Pig Patch and Happy Frog performing right alongside Fredbear and Bonnie. And
when did they get
big
replaced?
Fredbear
Like, when
family
did the
even
pig
got
and the frog
themselves
disappear?
Official merch that were released, ranging from masks to magnets.
The crappy
Magnets.
Mr. Hippo fridge magnet?
Hell yeah.
Sorry, Gregory.
That said,
Hated that
all
voice,
the characters
whatever that
were winners.
was.
The reception to some characters was just mediocre, so
Right.
they faded away into the dumpsters.
Oh, that's so sad. They just binned the mid characters.
Others, though, would fare much better, like a new Pirate Fox, as well as a blue guitar-playing variant of the yellow Bonnie Bunny. Ultimately, the franchise would get so big, it
Cool.
would spawn its own cartoon show, Fredbear and Friends. Business was booming,
Sorry, a cartoon show? It was a TV series in the game?
spinning off a new sister location dedicated to their friends. In 1983, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza launched, giving a dedicated home to all this new supporting cast of characters.
Right.
Chica the Chicken, Bonnie the Blue Bunny, Foxy the Pirate, and of course the headliner, a brown Freddy Fazbear.
The pizza joint from the first game is the sister location? Why did I think the sister location was another place? Also, like, the way the animatronics are presented here with the rips, the tears, and Chica's horrifying goddamn mouth. Is that how they are on stage? Because if I walked into a pizza place, they had these animatronics, they were presented like this, I would run. It looks terrifying. That doesn't look like, ooh, fun, family fun. That's like, ooh, dead family, dead.
It did bother him that the one original character that he created, the one that he himself played, Golden Bonnie, got passed over for inclusion in that cartoon show. The only
Oh, wow, they didn't include it in the
regulars
show?
to
That's
get
so
adored
sad.
for the show, but other than that, things were going smoothly. He had himself a wife, 2 sons,
A purple
he had a
wife.
thriving business, and best of all, he was able to learn the craft of robotics from the man that he both loved and hated, Henry. Together, they were constantly pushing the limits of what these characters could do.
So it literally is AI.
Eventually, Henry would design one of his signature animatronics for that character, utilizing a divided mouth with either a hinged or sliding jaw design. This
It's
was the first
horrifying.
generation.
The jaws are horrifying. That's the worst part.
Afton had big ideas. What if the animatronics weren't just locked to the stage, but could freely roam the restaurant and interact with the kids?
my God.
His mascot suits could become animatronics.
That's also a terrifying idea. Maybe I've just seen too many science fiction movies, or experienced too much FNAF, or maybe I'm just scarred by the horrific Foxy jump scare that I had when I first played the game. But you know what doesn't sound amazing? Is roaming animatronics that use AI and have mouths like that. One of them comes up to me, I'm like, I know I'm here to eat pizza, and you're here to eat me.
Could use more than just rigid metallic skeletons. Why not experiment?
That's what they
with
look
tubes
like
and wires
underneath.
that would
Oh,
give
boy,
animatronics
no.
fluidity and flexibility while still providing structure.
The f is that thing? What's the doll? I don't like it.
He had started with a dream of bringing one simple singing bear to life, but with robots, he had stumbled across the tools that gave him the ability to control life itself. And thanks to Henry, he was practically speedrunning his way to an engineering degree. And while William wouldn't admit it out loud, one other thing that kept pushing him forward was the desire to beat his former rival, to prove himself smarter and more capable.
Look, I totally understand that he feels maybe like ripped off or he's got a raw deal, but I don't know, if William's business was about to go bankrupt and then Henry was just like, oh, I'll buy it out, we'll merge and we'll do things together. Like, yeah, Henry shouldn't have been just taking his ideas in the first place, but also, he didn't have to do that. He could have just waited until he went bankrupt and then stole all his ideas anyway and did them himself. And now they've been working together for quite a long time and accomplished a whole bunch, and William Afton is still there just like seething and unhappy with this man. Like, don't work with him then.
But pride cometh before the fall, and tragedy was about to strike.
Oh, God.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of part 1 of the story. That said, at the end of each of these chunks, I want to break down some of the logical leaps that I made, since the more narrative format doesn't give me much of a chance to justify a lot of the big decisions. And admittedly, there are some large leaps in here.
I'm just fascinated by the fact that I've really only consumed 10 minutes of lore here. And I feel like I've been through a college class. There's so much that I've absorbed, so many questions I have. I'm so interested. I know we don't have time in this video to watch another, but I'm already dying to know what happens next. And I need to know when and why he starts slaughtering children. We didn't even touch on that yet. But tell me, MatPat, tell me the logical leaps that have happened.
We know, based on the retro poster that was hidden in Security Breach, that at least at one point, Fredbear was an actual bear.
Oh,
Like I
was
called
it an
out in that
animatronic
narrative
at
segment,
some other
dancing
point?
bear shows were a real form of entertainment. The only problem is that, timing-wise, none of our main characters would be the people in charge of that business
Right,
in the 30s.
maybe it's just
and
someone in a bear suit.
the restaurants in the 80s, without them just being extremely really old. Best case scenario, if Afton's running the singing show when he's 18, that still puts him at nearly 70 when the first pizzeria opens and his murder spree
Didn't even
begins.
think of that.
It just doesn't make a lot of logical sense because he doesn't become immortal until his first death in Springtrap.
Okay, I mean, you just kind of glossed over that little fact. He doesn't become immortal until his first death in Springtrap. That is a lot. Like a lot. In such few words.
Was either a family business that Afton then carried on to a new generation, or something that he saw as a kid and just wanted to recreate when he grew up. The Fredbear Sing and Show thing also starts laying the groundwork for some of the core elements of this story, that Freddy's was a place of fantasy and fun, and that Afton, despite eventually falling to become the heartless serial killer and mad scientist that we know him as,
The thing that we keep glossing over and I don't have information about.
he wanted to bring things to life from the very beginning, a theme that recurs a lot for him throughout the rest of the franchise.
Bringing
Next
things
up,
to
let's
life
talk about those
and
mascot
bring
costumes.
things to
One
death.
thing that I keep going back to is the design of Glitch Trap.
Glitch Trap, that's the name.
Themes and everything. It even has 5 fingers for the performer's
Oh,
hands.
God,
It is
that's
very much
terrifying.
not a Springtrap suit. This is something much more rudimentary. It came at a time before animatronics were a part of the story.
I'm gonna say a sentence that might take people off guard, that might even spark a little bit of controversy. After watching all this, hearing William Afton's tale so far, I just want to say, especially with his obsession with Glitch Trap and later Springtrap, is it possible he was just a furry? We're talking about where this all spawned from. Maybe he saw the show as a kid. Could it just be an OC? I'm just saying.
It's also a suit that is very personal to Afton. He put his digital consciousness in that
Oh?
form. It's his personal avatar.
How
it's
did
the
he-
way that he sees himself.
He even said personal avatar, the way he sees it. It's his OC. That's what it is. He put his digital consciousness in his OC, which he has a fursuit of.
So the fact that he's choosing to lure kids and kill them in this particular suit actually says
Oh,
a lot.
he does it in that
of
suit?
emotional attachment to it.
Kids would go towards that?
Golden Bonnie was uniquely Williams, giving him a personal connection. And that's not all. In this whole franchise, only one set of characters have themselves 5 fingers, the Nightmares. Even Golden Freddy,
I didn't even know.
Fredbear, was a 5-fingered wearable suit at one point in the story, as we see in this shot from the graphic novel, before he, like everyone else, was turned into an animatronic. This seems to imply that all of the main characters had similar wearable mascot outfits at least at one point in time. And that
Okay,
whoever is having
I'm
the
following.
for nightmares, if they even are nightmares, something that we'll touch on in part 2, saw those mascot suits specifically.
Right, because otherwise they wouldn't know that detail. So much to follow.
I've suspected that the mediocre melodies played a much more important role in the story than just being a bunch more animatronics to fill out the roster. Especially Ned Bear, which is just so suspiciously close to Fredbear.
Oh, and he has 4 fingers too. Okay.
There are 2 key details that we're gonna have to justify with any mediocre melodies mention. One, they're very rudimentary with external battery packs, implying that they come very early in the timeline. And 2, we know that at minimum, Mr. Hippo does eventually become an official member of the extended Freddyverse. But
Oh,
if these things
wow,
are supposed
what
to
a
be
comeback.
generic rip-offs, why would you be trying to rip off yourself? You wouldn't. You would be stealing someone else's ideas. So if Afton created Fredbear, there would have to be some rival franchise. The only other person who would likely be ripping him off? Henry. We've talked extensively about how the mediocre melodies are clearly Henry's design aesthetic, so it just has to be him.
Okay, right. Matt's talking about the comebacks later. So is the implication that Henry is still making these later?
He was likely building the robots at the orders of someone else that was running a rival restaurant franchise. But that's enough motivation to start Afton down a path of jealous rivalry, but also begrudging.
Oh, no, at the start.
The Freddy Files Ultimate
Okay.
Edition says it's important to revisit the beginning of Henry and William's relationship, so here you go. I think this is where it begins. Also, this is future Matt Pat here coming back to add this one in. Seems like the recently released character encyclopedia has backed up all of this speculation. I've had this timeline written for about a month now, but I've also been holding off a bit to see what wrenches this character encyclopedia might throw into it. And on this particular point, I
Damn.
gotta say, it seems like we might actually have nailed it.
It called it
They actively call
exactly.
out the suspicious similarities to the main Fredbear crew. Quote from one of the pages: Ned Bear looks like an imitation, altered just enough to avoid copyright issues. I don't know about you, but that seems to imply that we were right on the money.
Yeah. Also, ironically, isn't that what William Afton was doing when he changed the bear just enough to not get sued by the dancing bear place?
At one point, the franchises had to have have merged. That's really the only way that you get Mr. Hippo from the rival franchise as part of the Fazbear crew. This also mirrors a lot of what happened in the real-life history of FREDDY'S, with two rival restaurants.
I'm totally following now. I'm on board.
Merging to become one unified brand. Again, we've gone into that in
God, those are horrifying. Those are real. Oh, hated that.
Chica's Party World. Few things actually. First, we know for a fact that a location named Chica's Party World exists. It is mentioned in the source code teasing sister location, so it is out there somewhere.
God, they are
and
deep
doesn't fit
diving
cleanly anywhere. Second, in the story of the puppet carver, Chica is very explicitly looped in with the book versions of Pig Patch and Ned Bear.
Is the cupcake an animatronic too? I just realized it's got eyes.
Her design just fits better with the theme of down-home country animals with southern accents playing the banjo and eating with bibs. And with her being the headliner of the show with her name on the restaurant, it would make sense then that when the restaurants merged, she was the one.
Man, why do I feel a little bit bad for Chica getting like shoehorned in and made a side character? She used to have her own restaurant. She used to be the headline act. She got demoted. Justice for Chica.
She's the one to branch back off into her old franchise and is therefore missing in sister location. A detail that's bothered me for years at this point. It might also explain why William decided to stuff his first dead kid into Chica.
Yeah, cool, just glossing over that too. Did he literally just jam the kid into the suit? Or where did the souls come in?
It also serves as a clean answer to a lot of the random threads that Scott's been leaving dangling for years. So with all of that in mind, my friends, we can close the book on the foundation of Freddy's. And don't worry, next week I'll be back to give you arguably one of the most confusing parts of this entire timeline situation. Part 2, the Afton era.
Why am I stressed already? I am so keen to hear the Afton era. I feel like that's where a lot of the really interesting and intriguing questions I have are gonna be answered. I mean, that serial killer true crime. Well, it's not true crime, but you know, true crime.
Even back in the early days of FNAF, we were decoding images and source code that Scott fed us through the website.
I was gonna say I'm shocked that people are deep diving that much, but I'm not at all.
I've always would love to do is get kind of back to, I have no clue if we'll ever be able to do this, but getting back to kind of like the origin of like Fazbear Entertainment or the origin of Freddy Fazbear.
I feel like I would love a game that takes us all the way back and dives into that origin story. That would be so interesting.
It's all just a theory. A game theory. Go easy on me. Tried my best.
Oh my god. I was gonna end this video by being like, oh, if you'd like me to do part 2 and continue this for a video, let me know down below in the comments, because I'm always interested to know what you want, and if you'd like me to do it, I'll do the second part, maybe the third and the fourth. Now I'm just like, I have to watch it. I'm going to watch it. That's gonna happen. Because, again, there are so many questions. I mean, I've learned so much. I've really absorbed so much information, and I'm following it. I'm glad to have the timeline piecing together. But one question still remains. Why the child murders? Why stuff him in suits? How does he defeat death and have eternal life? Is he God? I hope not. That's it. I'll leave it at that. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you next time.